Right here and
Hello everybody, we are at the Kumeyaay Interpretive Center, and Kumeyaay Indians have survived off the land here for many centuries. This is Sandy, a volunteer who works at the center. She's going to show us some of the plants that the Kumeyaay Indians have used for food and water. So let's go.
okay. We'll start over here, and all of these plants are native to this area. And one of the first things is grapes. They're just coming out now. You can see the little grapes here that they would use for food, and they could get that was a water source also. And then this is a California sunflower, and it's a Tops Co-op in Kumeyaay, and that was used for medicine.
So what exactly of the sunflower did they use for medicine?
Well, I don't know really exactly. There's several different medicines they use, and I'm not sure which one that is. But as we go up, we'll see a lot more other plants that are very good for medicine.
Yeah.
And over here is this is black sage, and there's several different sages on the site. This sage would be used for I think there's medicinal purposes, but can't remember that either. But this is used for seed. They, like we have granola bars. Well, they had little bags of seeds, and this is a very small seed, so they take a seed beater and hit the seeds out and carry them around in a little pack. Yerba mansa is a plant that they our Indian friends said you have to.
I see it. Okay.
Yes. And that's a very special plant. Lots of different medicinal purposes, which I don't know the medicines too well. I just know they're used for certain things. And blackberries. If you go camping, there's blackberries all over.
Okay, so I know this is California oak,
right? Coastal live oak. Yeah, and it's flowering now. It's going to get the little seeds on it. But we don't have any with acorns on. They usually come around September, October, and so they've all fallen off. But that's the coastal live oak, or one of the acorns that the Kumeyaay would use. And they also like the black oak, that up in the Cuyamacas. That was their staple, and it was really important because that gave them the ability to stay in one area for long periods of time, a couple of years. And they didn't have to leave if they could get store enough acorns. This plant. This is the trees that grow in lake hodges, and they die down when the water comes in, and then they come back up when the water table goes down. But this they use for medicine. It has salicylic acid in it, which is aspirin, very important. We can use that for all kinds of things. And it was used to make baskets. You take these leaves and you just wrap them around, and they would make baskets out of them, and they would store their acorns in it. And the reason why they did that is because of salicylic acid. Have you ever tasted salicylic acid?
A little bit.
It's terrible, and the bugs didn't like it either. But they also used this for building materials, and the inner bark, they would make skirts out of it.
So lots of uses from one little plant.
Yes. That's the prickly pear cactus, and you can eat the new pads. Those are real nutritional and have lots of liquid in them. I've eaten them, but you have to boil them a few times for me to taste good. But also the cactus apples, they use those, and you have to pick them real carefully and just cut them open and eat them. And it's very nutritious. Rush or juncus, and this is what they made their baskets out of. It's very, very sturdy, but it's so hard to prepare. A lot of preparation goes into just getting the materials to make the baskets. And the baskets were very sturdy, unlike the willow baskets. Willow baskets are just huge, and they kept the bugs out, but you don't travel with them. This one you would travel with. It was very lightweight, and they would weave them so tight that they would hold water, and they could actually cook in them.
So it could hold water.
Yeah, really tight.
I guess the Kumeyaay are very good at making things.
This is monkey flower. Monkey flower comes in all different kinds of shades. This was used for medicine. They would make a tea. They made tea out of most of everything. And the flower, they'd make a tea out of it for diarrhea. And the leaf itself is sticky, and they would make they'd smash it up and make a poultice for minor burns. It's real important. And they're drought tolerant, so it's a good plant to plant in your garden. That's a Mexican agave, and that they would use for materials. They would use the stalk for food, and this had lots of moisture in it too. The leaves themselves, and they'd eat the root too. The leaves themselves, they would make fiber out of it. You just put it over coals at night, and then it's a lot of string in there, and that they would use it for cording and they made their nets out of it for catching things, and also for backpacks. They'd make a net backpack to carry all their things.
Yeah, I read that a lot of Indians use the agave, and it was a very important plant.
Yeah, very, very important. And it's very good, too. It's very tasty.
So it's the agave and the California oak that they really used a lot.
And just like the acorn, they would, you'd first, if you just ate the acorn, it's very bitter. It has tannic acid in it, which they would use for tanning the hides. But if you use if you soak it or grind it up and pour water over it, get the tannic acid out, then it was a very good food. In fact, it gave them everything they needed to survive. And like wild animals don't have fat. Well, the oak has fat in it, good fat. So you need that to digest your food. White sage, this is very important to the Indians. This was used for medicine, but it was also a traded item too, because a lot of places don't grow the white sage. You can smell it, it's very potent. And the Indians would use this. They would, when they went out hunting, they would rub this on them because
I'm guessing the animals couldn't be able to smell them then.
Exactly.
They could sneak up on them.
Exactly. This is chalk dudleya. This is a plant that they would eat, and it has a lot of moisture in it. Take a leaf, and you can peel it back. See how moist?
That's a lot of water in there.
Yeah, and this is a late in the season, and they would eat this, and it does. Sometimes it tastes pretty good if you get it soon enough. It's very tasty, but they would eat this middle part right here, and it's usually bigger than that. This is the late part of the season, but they would, and you can see how moist this is. So this is they could get moisture from, and was nutritional, so they could just chew on that. This right here is a manzanita plant. Manzano means apple in Spanish. Manzanita is small apple, and you can see the little berries that are growing in here. They would collect the berries, and they'd smash them and put them in water and kind of flavor their drink. It probably had nutritional value too. But I was told by a lady that the leaves and her grandmother would use these for tea for stomach ailments. And the branch itself, the manzanita, has that red branch, very, very strong. So they'd use that for digging sticks or building, digging holes and putting holes in leather and things.
Yeah, isn't also the manzanita nowadays, isn't that also a protected species?
Yes, it is. And this is mountain manzanita, which is in the local mountains. It doesn't necessarily grow here. There's a different kind of manzanita that grows here, but it's from the local area. This is the laurel sumac, and the laurel sumac, they would make a tea out of that for internal bleeding. It would make your blood coagulate. So they learned after a woman had a baby, give her that tea, or someone fell, the shaman or medicine men would know, if that was the problem. But today, farmers use this because it's very sensitive to frost, so they wouldn't plant their citrus or their avocados when a plant has been destroyed by frost. So this would be a good place. This never gets hit by frost.
So it's still used nowadays.
Yes, yeah. It's a wild plant that grows everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, there's the wild cucumber.
That's also sharp.
Yes, very sharp.
I've been noticing a lot of these in the ground. Is that kind of a seed pod?
Yes, that's a seed pod. And inside, the squirrels love them. So there's little seeds inside, right inside here. And the Indians would not eat them, but they'd
poisonous?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's poisonous or not. But the Indians wouldn't use the seeds, except for they'd grind them up and put them with iron ore, and then they'd make dyes in them. Like with clay or charcoal. They would use that for coloring, for tattooing, or for their pictographs.
Little paint kit in there.
Exactly. And they call this the manroot plant because the root itself is huge, because this is just a temporary plant. It grows all over things and then dies. But the main part is the root, and the root, they would grind that up and throw it in slow-moving streams, and it would sink down and anesthetize the fish, and the fish would float up temporarily dazed. It's illegal now.
Good fishing anyway.
Yes, but you don't do that here, you'll get in trouble. Okay, this is the elderberry tree, and this is a riparian tree. There's a lot of plants here that should be near water. This one isn't. Maybe there's a water source, I don't know. But it smells delicious. But also when it flowers like this, then my Indian friend would take it and dry it, and you'd use a tea for fevers or aches and pains. So it's a very good plant. But after the flower drops, then you get the seed, the elderberry, and it's delicious. This is ladyfinger dudleya. This is another dudleya. That other one was a chalkleaf dudleya. This is ladyfinger dudleya, and you can just break that. See how?
Yeah, I'm assuming this is what they use for water if they were lost.
Right. Yeah, and it's very nutritional. It has lots of food value too. So, but it has lots of water in it too. So there's lots of
water.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of water in there. These are wild roses, and you can eat when the flower drops off. You have a red pod. I don't see any. This is starting to get them. These are starting to get a red. This is going to be a little pod here, and that is the vitamin C you get at the health food store.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's very, very high. It's very nutritional. And as a child, I used to eat those. I didn't know what they were for, but you don't want to eat them now because people fertilize or put insecticides on. So, but it is a very good source of vitamin C. All the vitamin C you get at the health food store is made from the rose hips. Okay, now this is a yucca. This was a very you see them all over. It would be a water source, and you would also use this for the branches itself. This is where you get the fiber from to make baskets, and I make little brushes out of them. So it's very fibrous. The end of it has a needle on it, which you could use probably for sewing. I think they would strip it all down, so it was a needle and thread. But this, you would eat the root, you'd eat the stalk when it was shorter, just before the blooms were opened up, and you could just eat the blooms just by itself. Once they get big, they get bitter. So you can boil them and throw off the water a few times until you take the bitterness out, and it tastes like cabbage. It's very good. But this, the stalk itself, it's very sweet, and you can use it just chew on it for moisture and for vitamins and stuff. But also the stalk, when it dries out, you can use it for quiver.
Okay, so thank you, Sandy, for all the help you gave us.
Thank you. Thank you for being such a good student, and you're very knowledgeable too.
Thank you. And I hope you all had a great time learning about plants, and that you'll now know, Mom.